So what does a typical day of eating for you look like right now? And then provide like some context.
Okay.
In terms of like what meals you have when and why.
Okay. So right now, I've been having the same breakfast every day for like the last year probably now. I have rice, chicken, and eggs for breakfast. And the reason behind that is I just like the way it tastes. Carbs, protein, and fats. I get a good amount of all of those things. And I feel like I like a savory breakfast. I don't like sweet breakfast.
Yeah.
A lot of people like doing like the oats and the protein powder, which I used to do as well. But I think I'm more of like a savory person in the morning. For lunch, simple again. Chicken, rice, veggies, some guacamole, and then some pico. And this is the meal where I try to get most of my veggies in and try to get like my greens and micronutrients. And then I'll have a piece of fruit as well. So whether it's like an orange, a kiwi, pineapple, I'll also have that alongside my lunch. And then this is typically when I would have my post-workout meal would be my Greek yogurt bowl. So Greek yogurt, protein powder, more fruit, bunch of fun stuff. Dinner is always wraps, ground beef, more guacamole. I have a lot of fats actually now that I'm naming them all. I have a lot of fat in the day, which is good. And then I'll have another piece of fruit then as well. And then the last meal before dinner, kind of like the nightcap, it's kind of been all over the place. I've been having creamies the last few days, but the last couple nights I just haven't had anything. The other night I had a bowl of cereal, but before that I was having a creamy every single night. I just haven't been prepping them now. But with all of those meals, I try to make sure I have a good amount of protein in all of them and just try to make sure I get a good variety of carbs, fats, and protein. But other than that, those are just foods I just like, and they're so simple. Like, it doesn't take me like half an hour to prep all these meals.
Too.
Easy to prep, yeah. Yeah, I try to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, how I like to structure my meals is I like to have my 3 main meals first. So I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And with those meals, that's where I try to have like the bulk of my macros, I would say.
Yeah.
So I try to have like 30 to 40 grams of protein, 30 to 40 grams of carbs, and like 5 to 15, probably 10 to 15 grams of fat. And then I make sure each of those meals has at least 10 grams of fiber, because then I know that kind of no matter what I eat, like for my other meals, that I have like a good bulk. And it's also easier for me to just think about prepping 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
And then for snacks, that's where I just focus on protein because that's one of like my biggest struggles is hitting my protein goal, especially after being pregnant. Like I had a huge aversion to protein. So I try to make sure that like I'm having Greek yogurt bowls or like a smoothie or a protein shake or a protein bar or like a meal prep for you protein donut. So trying to make sure that those meals I'm really focusing on protein, and then carbs and fats I kind of base around like when I'm training during the day.
Yeah.
So if I know that I'm going to be training in the afternoon, I'll make sure that my afternoon snack has like a good serving of carbs with it, like before and then after as well. But I think that that's sometimes a mistake that people make with their nutrition. And I know that we talk about this a lot, is how people try to think of like new recipes and new ways to like spice up their eating. But when it really comes down to it, like simplicity is so key, and it's what allows you to be consistent, especially if you are someone that's so busy.
You can get overwhelming if you try to like create like fancy dishes.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to be complicated. I think, yeah, exactly what you said. Like, it's just overcomplicating things will kind of like, you'll find yourself running into a wall because you just overwhelm yourself. Were you much of a snacker? Like, have you always been a snacker?
I was, yeah. Definitely, like once I started tracking my macros and focusing on eating more balanced meals, snacking became a lot less appealing to me.
Yeah.
But I definitely still do snack.
Yeah.
Like I still like having like a serving of pop chips here and there, or I'll have like a popsicle. I've just learned what snacks make the most sense for me, in the sense of like not being super high calorie, or even highly palatable.
Yeah.
Like I'm not choosing snacks that are just like candy or like, I don't know.
That's typically how people like will choose like their food options though. It's like they're not aware of like being informed of the decisions they're making. They're just kind of choosing foods to satisfy their craving instead of just satisfying their protein goals and, you know, just like trying to hit macro targets. They're just not aware. But I've never been much of a snacker.
You aren't even now.
No, I've just eaten meals. I just eat meals and then I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's weird. I don't mind a snack. Like if they're out, if they're available, I'll sneak snack on them, but like I don't seek them out really.
If I want something to snack, like say I want like a piece of chocolate, or like, I don't know, I have like Greek yogurt bars, like popsicles, I'll have it after I have a balanced meal.
Yeah, after the meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely a mistake that people make, is they focus on like whatever they want to eat. So like they end up snacking all day and they don't actually eat a balanced meal, and they find that like their energy levels are all over the place, their mood is all over the place, and it's because their body's not actually just getting like a nice, filling, satiating meal. It's just like snack to snack to snack to snack. And so a lot of like our clients find when they actually start eating more structured, balanced, rounded meals, that their desire to snack goes down.
Yeah.
Because they're fueling and nourishing their bodies properly.
Yeah, I know for a fact, like if I were to have a snack before a meal, there's a good chance I probably won't even want the meal. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's why I don't snack, because like I know if I have a snack, then I'm not going to want to have like a full meal, which I know there's more benefit to having the full meal. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, having the snack afterwards, if you plan to have it afterwards, you might not even want it because you had the full meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like you kind of do that, like with your Greek yogurt bowls, you'll put like toppings on it.
I'll put the snacks in the meal.
Instead of just eating it separately, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. How often do you think people truly run into plateaus? So what I mean by that is like majority of people find that they'll run into issues where they can't progress with a lift, can't progress with weight loss, et cetera, et cetera. But how often is it that someone is actually 100% on point with everything and they've truly hit a plateau? Do you think it's
a lot less frequent
Yeah.
than people think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to plateaus, people are so quick to go into like a panicked state and be like, oh, I'm not progressing, like the number on the scale is not going down. And they're not actually looking at things like holistically, looking at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing that I do if a client says that they're plateaued, is I look at their level of consistency. Like, have they had adherence for at least the past 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And adherence would look like 90% or more.
Minimum
adherence.
2 weeks. Minimum 2 weeks, minimum 90%. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have to look at all of the other variables and factors. So things like your nutrition, like how has that been? Have you been dialed into nutrition? Water, sleep is a huge one. Stress, like has anything big gone on in your life? Kind of like schedule and routine, like if you're out of your routine, that can kind of cause your body to react. Training, steps, cardio, like you have to look at everything. And I think sometimes people focus on one thing. They're like, I've been spot on with my nutrition for the last 2 weeks and I've plateaued. I need to like drop my calories drastically.
Yeah.
And it really happens a lot less frequently. And one thing that I compare it to is like competition prep, because like I've prepped clients before, and you know, like the majority of people who are in competition prep are 100%.
Yeah.
And like how often do you typically have to adjust a competition prep's, you know, cardio nutrition?
Yeah.
It's usually every like couple of weeks.
Yeah,
like
it's not
big
that often.
drops. It's
Yeah.
not that often.
Yeah.
And those people are like 100% dialed in.
Yeah.
So I think people are really quick to blame a plateau, or really quick to say that they're at a plateau without actually looking at all of the other variables that are going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I no, 100%. Like, because I'm guilty of this. Like, if I hit like a sticking point in a lift or something like that, I'm like, oh, I've hit a plateau, like I need to like change something. But I know for a fact I just like haven't been consistent enough with like sleep or nutrition. Like there's always something that you can fine tune to make it better that will apply and carry over into training or weight loss or whatever it is. Yeah, I don't think plateaus are really all that common. Like they're not like a true plateau where you've like hit a wall and there's nothing else you can do to like progress you moving forward. Even at that point, there's something you can do. You can deload. You can take, you know, there's deload weeks. There's things that you can implement to make sure that you can pull back a little bit so that you take one step back so that you can take 2 steps forward, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're not that common.
No, and I think that's why one reason why like having a coach is like so beneficial, because they're an external eye looking in on you.
Yeah.
And they're able to see like everything else going on and have a look at the data and, you know, how the client is feeling and their level of adherence and consistency. And it's not just the fact of like, hey, we need to switch things up or we don't need to switch things up. It's like the mental aspect of a coach being able to like talk a person off a ledge,
yeah,
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're all guilty of this, like you said, but wanting to make changes like right away and jumping from like this to this to trying this to trying this, it can get so complicated.
Yeah.
And that's when people end up just being like, nothing is working for me.
Yeah.
Instead of actually just sticking to something that they can be like consistent with long term.
And that's why it's so important to like track everything, because like you said, if clients are like jumping all over the place or not tracking anything, then like I don't know what to tell you. Like I really don't have any like solid information to like go off of to give you proper guidance or proper advice. Like that's why it's so important to track everything, track all your food that you're eating, even if you're overeating or undereating, like track everything so that we have the information to give you proper guidance, to give you proper advice. Because if you're all over the place, then we don't have any answers. We have no info.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plateaus are less common than people think, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some training mistakes that you see people make?
Just overall training?
Could be related to anything training.
There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot. I'm trying to choose one.
Yeah.
I think the most common thing is that people don't actually train hard enough. I think there's a lot of conversation that people go too hard or like do too much. But I think if you were to walk into any gym, like any random gym, you'll probably notice that most people don't actually train super hard. You'd probably watch anybody perform any set and you'd probably be like, oh, you had like 5 more reps and you were 6 more reps. So I think the understanding of like how hard you can actually push in a set is totally misunderstood. I don't think people train to their full potential. And it doesn't need to be like RPE 10 every single time, but most people train to like RPE 5 and they're like, okay, done.
Do you want to go over the RPE?
Sure. Okay, so RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion, and it works on a scale of 1 to 10. So RPE 10 would mean that there are 0 reps left in the tank. RPE 9 means there's 1 rep left in the tank. RPE 8 means there's 2 reps left in the tank, so on and so forth. Typically, you want to try to train within, I always say 7, 8, 9 is like the sweet spot. There's nothing wrong with going to RPE 10 every now and then, but you don't want to be there all the time. 7, 8, 9 is like the sweet spot where you're pushing hard enough, probably even 8 and 9. 7 is kind of like the same as 10. It's like it's okay to be there every now and then, but you want to stay, I think, RPE 8 to 9 is probably the sweet spot to be, because you're pushing hard enough, you're not going to failure, and you're allowing your body to recover still. You know, you're still pushing hard, but you're not overexerting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that most people train at like an RPE of 5.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I see people training, and that's not being judgmental, I just know that they have more.
They just don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they don't know that they are capable of more than what they're doing.
Yeah.
based on kind of like their history with strength training. If you've never actually truly pushed a set to failure, you don't know what that feels like.
Yeah.
One thing that I tell my clients when I have a look at their training logs and I know that they're capable of like progressing and getting stronger is I say, just pick one exercise from your training program. One exercise each day this week and take the last set to absolute failure.
Yeah. Because
they don't know what that feels like. And I also think that depending on the person, it may not be beneficial for them to push to failure for every single exercise and every single set. But I think that pushing yourself like for that one set each training session for a week and truly pushing to failure, it's eye-opening. And that's the same thing with like having a training partner. Like if you have a training partner who pushes you, you are able to push harder.
Yeah. Just by example, like you can see someone pushing hard and then you're like, oh, maybe I can actually push as hard as they're pushing.
Yeah.
I think that's the one drawback of online coaching is that we can't be there with our clients in person to like give that accurate representation of what like training to failure is, or like, you know, pushing hard, or even just like correcting some aspects of form, right? We can do as much as we can through video, but in person is always going to have that one up on online. I do think that, RP 5 is kind of where most people train. Again, like if you were to walk into any gym and, you know, and anybody watching this or listening to this, like pay attention to other people in the gym for the fact of like seeing how hard people actually train. You might see one person here and there training hard, but majority of people, they just, but then again, is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't know. Like it kind of depends on the person.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
One thing that I see a lot happen, specifically when it comes to training, is people aren't following a structured training program because they think it's boring or repetitive to do the same exercises. And I saw this reel the other day and it was like, oh, you think that doing the same exercises week to week is boring? Like, grow up.
Grow up.
Grow up. And I was kind of like, honestly, that's legitimate. Like, if people actually want to build muscle and build strength, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Like, you have to perform the same exercises week to week.
Yeah.
You can't be constantly hopping from like, oh, this Instagram reel workout to, you know, this one and this one and this one, and not logging and tracking weight and not actually focusing on that progression. I did that for the first like 3 years of strength training at the gym. Is I would just do whatever. I would just go into the gym and do like whatever. And I think that, you know, that a lot of it comes with experience with training. And if you actually follow a structured strength training program for a period of time, like you will see results. You will feel the results and then you'll kind of understand and it'll click for you a lot more. But I don't think people go into the gym with a game plan, and I think that it is really like detrimental to their progress. And it's also motivating to like go into your training sessions and envision like what you're going to lift and then actually like hit those targets and hit those goals. It kind of creates like milestones along the way.
The most amount of progress I ever saw was when I'm on a structured training plan. Like right now I kind of am, but every time I've ever followed like a set structured plan, that's when I've always seen the best progress, because you're consistent with it. You're tracking your lifts, you know what you lifted last week, so you know how to progress for the next week. But I wanted to go back to what you said. It's just like, like grow up. I think that I honestly want to say that a lot of times to some clients, because it's like, look, like you're asking for the perfect scenario here, but you like it's just not going to happen, and that's just life. Like you need to grow up a little bit and understand. Like it's so hard to like say that in a nice way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like sometimes you kind of have to like give people a little bit of like that tough love. It's like, dude, like this is life. You know, there's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be road bumps, but you know, you just kind of have to deal with it. Like sometimes I feel like people need a little bit more adversity in their life so that they can just deal with it and like move forward. Yeah. And like train the boring training split. I've been doing the same movements for the past 10 years. And I'm progressing with it, but it gets to a point where you're like, there's only so many exercises you can actually do. Yeah.
And I think one thing also is if you've been training, and as you gain more training experience and understanding, you understand which exercises work similar muscle groups.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're doing a dumbbell reverse lunge versus a Smith machine reverse lunge versus a barbell reverse lunge, you're doing the same movement.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So even that small variation can kind of spice up somebody's training program.
Yeah.
But they're still doing the same movement. They're still going to be able to progress and get stronger with it, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing with squats, whether you're doing a barbell squat, a Smith machine squat, a pendulum squat, a hack squat, a goblet squat. You're still squatting.
Yeah.
But that little variation, sometimes it can just excite people a little bit more, and they don't feel like they're doing the same exercise over and over again.
As trainers, we know they're doing the same thing, but as a client, they may not catch on, which is nice because it's you're enjoying the variety. But I know for a fact that you're doing squat. It's just a different variation of it, which is what they need to do. So because if you told them we're doing this kind of squat, and explain to them that they're just squatting all the time, they might not have as much buy-in.
Sure.
Okay, here's a scenario type question. If a client came to you and they're wanting to work with you and they said that they feel really good on this vegan diet that they've been on, would you encourage them to change the diet, or would you just let them continue on with the vegan diet and work with them? How would you go about it?
So I usually like to ask a few questions, regarding their decision to be vegan and why they're deciding that. Because if someone's choosing to be vegan, it's either because they think that it's trendy or cool, or they see people doing it, or even they think that they need to do it to see results as well, or it's actually for ethical purposes, right? If they actually don't want to eat animals, they don't believe in how the meat is being produced or processed or anything like that, or even the killing of animals, which is completely fair. So first of all, I would ask the client why, and then if their reasoning is to protect and save animals, I usually leave it alone.
Just leave it.
I usually leave it, and then I would give them a period of time of us working together and kind of asking how they're feeling, because I do think also some people who make the decision to be vegan, they will change their mind as well. Some people don't, some people do, but always kind of revisiting, asking them kind of how they're feeling and whatever versus that. And I do think that there are different ways that you can eat meat as well. I know some people who are vegetarian, vegan, and they went back to eating meat, but they'll only eat locally raised, locally sourced, they literally go to the farm and source the meat or something like that, because they feel a lot better about the production of it. But then if somebody is just wanting to do it and just wanting to try it, I'm not gonna force my opinion or bias on them, but I will kind of explain the pros and cons, especially of eating meat when it comes to getting a wide range of amino acids, getting enough vitamin B12, making sure they're eating enough iron, and just the benefits of eating animal protein. Because I do think that a lot of people who become vegan deplete themselves of nutrients because they just don't understand that you have to supplement elsewhere with what you're missing out on from not eating meat. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. It depends. It depends. I think back to because my sister, she used to be vegan, and she was vegan for a long time, probably 5 years, 6 years, probably something like that. But when she was going through her first pregnancy, she was ill, and she just couldn't get the nutrients that she needed through this vegan diet, so she needed to start implementing animal products to help support her pregnancy, and so that she didn't feel really sick. I don't think it was ever before the pregnancy. I think she got pregnant and then she was just experiencing all these issues, and then her doctor was you're just not getting enough nutrients, you need to either supplement or just start eating food, like more food. So I haven't asked her about it in a while, but she's not vegan anymore. But yeah, it just goes to show like you can do it for a little while, but then you like for her, like she's pregnant and trying to support a child, and it's like, okay, at the end of the day, like
your body gets so depleted.
Your body gets really depleted, yeah, and you need to support your body, support this baby you're trying to grow. And it was for, the reasons of like, the ethical reasons, ethical, environmental stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like you're in this position now where, like you really need to, start implementing some of these foods to kind of help support your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does depend. It does really depend. I think, like you said, talk to them, inform them of what your thoughts are, the pros and the cons. And you want to try to lead them to like make a decision on their own. Because if you try to force it onto them, then it'll never work.
Yeah, I do think that if you're making the decision to be a vegan, you need to be very aware of what you need to do to make sure that your body is still getting those nutrients. That's super important, because that's probably the biggest thing that I see is people are just like so depleted of the vitamins and minerals that they're missing through actually eating like animal products, and they don't understand that you have to be really diligent in terms of like supplementing outside with those things. And I also think getting like regular blood work done as well, because then you can actually see where your levels are at internally too. So
yeah, it's an issue with like a lot of influencers online who create their whole personality around being vegan, and then there's people following them who start to follow a vegan diet as well, but they don't know what these influencers are supplementing with, or what they're doing that they're not showing, so that they can see success with the vegan diet. Because like you said, there needs to be so much supplementation involved, and just awareness of how your body is, whereas a regular person just scrolling Instagram and just watching someone eat a vegan diet just wouldn't know all those pros and cons. Yeah,
I agree. Okay, so so when it comes to social media and like the evolution and rise of people sharing their health and fitness journeys and diets and exercise routines and lifestyles online, like what do you think that the pros and cons, and like are there drawbacks just for the audience, for the general population, like looking into people's lives essentially and following what they're doing?
I think there's more negative than there is positive, because I think the positive part is that you can gain motivation from it and you can be inspired from it. But I think there's so much more negative to it, because there's the whole comparison game, and then there's the whole not knowing what they're doing outside of these reels and Instagram stories, right? Like that's why I feel like it's so important for us to try to like post like everything, even like being sick, or like last or 2 weekends ago I was drinking quite a bit. I threw up because I drank too much. So it's like sharing that kind of stuff, right? Because it's like it's real life. Whereas someone scrolling Instagram may not see that from other fitness influencers and stuff like that, and they're like, well, how do they look like this, and how can they accomplish all this, but not enjoy the smaller things in life. I don't know. I think there's just more negative to it, because there's the comparison. You don't actually know what they're doing, and you don't. I don't think it's an accurate representation of what's truly capable and possible. Like a character like David Goggins, like I feel like that guy's just one of a kind. But you don't actually see what he's doing. You don't see what he has access to in terms of like supplementation, drugs. Like you don't know what the guy does. Obviously, I don't know him, but like you don't know what he does. You don't know what he's involved in for him to accomplish what he accomplishes. And you don't see anything outside of what he shows you. So it's like you can't compare yourself to what he's doing. Yeah, I think there's more negative.
Yeah. I think that the health and fitness realm and industry is already like so confusing.
Yeah.
And then I think that the introduction of people being able to just look at other people's lives and seeing exactly what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, what they're eating, how they're training, it actually adds confusion.
Yeah.
And then there's also the fact that people are typically trying to sell you something on social media too. So their new diet or their new training program or their new supplement. And for the general person, like just trying to get healthy and fit, lose some fat, add some muscle, get strong, it is just so unbelievably confusing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing that we do well with our coaching is we simplify things.
Yeah.
And I do think that sometimes clients are a bit confused as to why we just focus on healthy habits and routines, and it almost seems too simple and too good to be true. But then they're actually able to just focus on executing those things on a day-to-day basis and not getting their judgment clouded by like everything else going on or whatever everybody else is doing, and they're able to just have consistency and see progress and see results. And then they have the understanding that what you see on social media is typically not like as good as it is receiving.
It's not accurate.
Yeah, and they're able to make much smarter decisions when it comes to consumption of social media and what somebody posts. Because I know for me personally, when I first got into strength training and working out, I was so naive. And it was simply just like a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge. But I would follow these training programs that I look back on now, and they were just absolutely awful and were doing nothing for me, and I was wasting my time doing these HIIT circuits in the gym, same things every single week, and not progressing and not getting stronger. But it's because I would just look at somebody, their profile picture or the pictures that they posted, I'm like, I want to look like that person, I'm going to do exactly what that person does. But then ever since, I mean, that was 10 years ago, and since I've become more aware and more educated and more knowledgeable, I'm able to see through what people are posting. Like, not in the bad way, but just understanding that would never work for me, or that person looks that way because genetics or because they're a unicorn. Not everybody is meant to be that way or something like that. So I think that over time, as you gain understanding and awareness and actually understand like the fundamentals of health and fitness, you're able to go on social media and not have it impact you as much and not be so naive to, I guess, what's out there.
Yeah, I think the fitness industry as a whole has just done a poor job of what we were intended to do. You know, like actually like make health and fitness simple, but it's social media has overcomplicated the shit out of it. It's confused everyone. And like you said too, like because we've been in this game for a while now, we can kind of see through a lot of the bullshit online. Like you see these guys or girls who are just like super shredded, super lean in all their Instagram videos and stuff like that. And you're like, yeah, it's cool, it's fun to look at, but like we know that there's probably so much more going on behind the scenes that they're not showing, because we know that like, yeah, it's cool to be shredded for a little while, but we know it sucks. And to be like that for a long period of time, you know there's so much more behind the scenes that they're not showing in terms of like hunger, poor management with their nutrition, poor eating habits, poor sleeping habits probably. Like there's so much more going on behind the scenes that influencers don't really show. And it confuses people. My client the other day asked me if she was like doing this whole fitness thing correctly because she doesn't have six-pack abs. She's gotten extremely strong. She's like progressed in so many ways other than being leaner. And she's so focused on that, right? She's like ignoring everything other than the fact that she isn't lean, but she's made progress in so many other areas. And she's like confused and questioning herself if she's doing things correctly. And I'm like, God, it kind of breaks my heart, because I'm like you're in a perfect place. Like it sucks that that's how you're thinking, and social media is making you think that way, because it's like you're actually probably one of my healthier clients right now, because you're not focused on that, and that's not what we're really working towards. You're eating good, you're lifting heavy, you're building muscle, like you're in a great place. Yeah.
I think when it comes to social media, and again, like just analyzing people's bodies and looking at how people look, people think that the people that they idolize or that they follow or look up to on social media, that they should be looking like that as well.
Yeah.
But even when it comes to something like having a six-pack or having abs, genetics plays such a huge factor.
Yeah.
And also just the fact that for the majority of people to have visible abs year round, they have to be eating in a deficit, so you're not actually progressing and like building strength or building muscle, and it's just not healthy for the majority of people long term.
Again, like the fitness industry just did a really poor job of getting the message across that, you know, there's so much more to health and fitness than just having abs.
Yeah.
I think they're so overrated.
They're so overrated.
Like being in prep, I was like, I'm honestly so happy to be done this. Like I can't wait to not have 6-pack abs right now, because I'm like, I can't do anything that I really want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not, it's so overhyped.
You've been on like the opposite side of the spectrum though, where you've had abs and you haven't had abs, and I feel like you're in like a medium spot now.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in between right now. But yeah, I don't know. Because I've been there, I just know it's not as great as everyone thinks it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like again, it's cool to get there, it's fun to like have that goal, and like once you get there, cool. But there's just so much work involved to get there, and it's just not worth it. Not worth it for most people, I don't think.
No, I agree.
Okay, budget-friendly fitness tips. Nutrition, gym memberships, maybe investing in like a home gym equipment-wise.
Well, like what people should do.
Yeah, if they're like, say, a college student, they don't have a ton of money, but they want to start, you know, getting into health and fitness. What are some things that you recommend for like a college student?
I'm thinking back to like when I was in university.
Yeah.
It's so different though. In terms of investing, I think that you should be investing your money into the food that you're eating and your training, so where you are training. Okay. So I think a gym membership initially is cheaper than like building a home gym.
Yeah.
So if you can afford a gym membership and if you have the time to be able to make it to the gym, a gym membership would be ideal. And then having an understanding of how to eat properly. So I think there are so many resources online right now, like it is so confusing, but if you can actually sort through, or if you're following the right accounts and having an understanding, like actually just buying good food.
Yeah.
I think people focus on the wrong things when they want to embark on a health and fitness journey. So they typically, supplements is like the biggest one that I see people
waste their money
on, and I'm so guilty of that too. Like when I first started my journey, I remember going to the supplement store, and nothing against supplement stores. Supplements serve a purpose, but for the majority of people, there's such a waste of money, and that money could be diverted somewhere so much better that would like give them such better results and have them feeling so much better, and they're not just like pouring money down the drain. So supplements, and then I also think a big thing is how you look, like your workout clothes and shoes. And that's not to say that you should never buy like a new workout outfit or something like that, but how many influencers do you follow that are constantly pushing like this clothing drop, this clothing launch, use this code, this outfit's so cute, this is my gym fit. Like I'm so guilty of looking at these people and saying I need a cute gym outfit too. I need to write this launch down in my calendar so that I can buy this t-shirt or something, and it's so silly. And so I think that if someone's just getting into like their health and fitness journey, focusing on the right things, how you eat, how you're eating, where/how you're training versus supplements and what you're wearing.
Yeah, I like that.
What
yeah,
would you say?
No, I agree. I think, like you said, people waste their money on the things that don't matter all that much, specifically supplements. Like you said, I like supplements too. I love taking supplements. They're fun. There's a time and place for them. But for majority of people, they're like at the bottom of the priority list, where you really shouldn't be spending your money, especially if you're on a tight budget. I think a gym membership should be at the top of the list because, like you said, investing in a home gym can get pretty pricey. But if you can pay $50, $60 a month to have access to a gym with all their equipment, I think that's ideal. So I think that would be number one. And then nutrition wise, yeah, spending money on whole foods, going to the grocery store and not spending money on like fast food or prepackaged meals. Like meal prep companies are convenient, but they're expensive, right? They're pricey. Like if you can take the time to go to the grocery store, meal prep, cook your food, it's really not all that expensive. Like if you broke down a meal with all of its ingredients, I'm sure most meals would probably be less than $15 a meal. Maybe I'd argue maybe $10 a meal.
Yeah.
But I think gym membership number one, nutrition number two, and then like sleep is free. Like I feel like that's something that most people should just be prioritizing, right? So you don't need to spend money on that. You just need to like set boundaries around going to bed and waking up at an appropriate time, so on and so forth. But yeah, I feel like you said, people spend a lot of money on the things that don't really matter. Like it's so much more cost effective for that money to go towards groceries, your gym membership, the supplements. Again, I like most people can live the rest of their lives and be fit and healthy without ever touching supplements. Like it's fact. But they can play a role, they can be helpful, they're convenient, but they're not necessary at all.
Think about like where you are at right now in your life.
Okay.
Age, kind of what the next 5 to 10 years look like for you.
Yeah.
How old are you?
28.
Okay, so if there was somebody, a male, 28, in a similar position to you, what advice would you give them to set themselves up for success in the next 5 to 10 years of their health and fitness journey? And like life, like goals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get you. Just like everything, like health and fitness, like...
Just like kind of what you would do now and why.
I think what I'm doing right now, I wouldn't tell someone to do what I'm doing. Which sounds bad, but it's like...
I'm wording this weird. Okay, think about the next 5 to 10 years. I can only think of this in like... Okay, think of the next 5 to 10 years, what you want your life to look like, and what are you doing now to ensure that you are in a good position?
In terms of health and fitness or just life?
Both.
Both? Okay. Life. Okay, let's start with health and fitness. I feel like, again, I don't think I would give someone the advice. I wouldn't tell someone to do what I'm doing now because I know what I'm doing is a lot. And I feel like I'm even starting to like feel the negative effects of it. Like my back is fucking killing me today. And I'm just like a little bit more tired. So I've been doing this hybrid thing it's been 4 weeks now. And by week 4, I'm already starting to feel like I just don't have as much energy. So I'm trying to deload this week with my running, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to continue doing it, but I'm just being a little bit more in tune with my body now. I'm listening to my body a little bit more. And whereas before I would be so fight through it, like you need to progress, like you're kind of being a bitch if you're, letting your body like just trying to rest and I don't know. I think I have a lot of negative self-talk when it comes to that kind of stuff because I feel like I talk myself into feeling like I'm lazy because I'm resting or if I just don't have the energy, whatever. Just think more like longevity. Think more of maintaining what you've built rather than trying to continue to build, because the benefits versus the what am I trying to say? I don't think the pros outweigh. I think the cons outweigh the pros when you're trying to continuously like you're gonna get to a point where it's like, is it really worth lifting this weight but at the risk of like injuring yourself? Like I just don't think the benefit's just not there anymore. Like I just don't think it's worth it as much anymore. I think I've got a couple more years of it left in me to like push, and I think after that it's just kind of like, you know, I want to have kids down the road, so I'm like, I'd rather just be like healthy and like pain free, rather than like lifting super heavy and like feeling it in my joints and feeling it in my back and stuff like that.
I'll kind of give like context. So what I see like with men, for an example, is if they're into health and fitness and strength training, their early 20s, even heading into their later 20s, it's all about like getting as big as possible, getting as jacked as possible, very like aesthetic focused, or getting super strong or something like that. And then typically, like you said, they either hurt themselves or they just completely lose it, and they don't actually know how to find like a healthy medium, because they've either gone hard, like trying to look their absolute best, lift their absolute heaviest, be like the biggest guy in the room kind of thing, or they just aren't doing anything related to health and fitness. And it's like such a pendulum. And I do think that for the majority of men who actually want to settle down with a family and have kids, not what everybody wants to do, but for those who do, you need to find a balance. Because then you're not going to just be balancing career and fitness, you're going to be balancing career, fitness, and family. And you need to be able to be okay with not being 100% in your health and fitness, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. I think that's what I was trying to say. I think, like early 20s, like there's such a big focus on trying to get as strong as you can and as big as you can. But now as I'm getting older, I'm like obviously thinking about kids and marriage and stuff like that. It's like, okay, it was fun to do that, but like when you're trying to balance a family, work, like everything, it's not worth it trying to hit new PRs and trying to like gain like another 5 pounds of muscle. I think maybe eventually down the road, but I think in those early stages of building a family, you know, early stages of like your career, like I think there needs to be more effort put into that kind of stuff. Whereas maybe later on down the road, when kids are grown, maybe moved out, like you're pretty well established in your career, maybe you can come revisit that. But then your expectations need to be a little more appropriate for that time of your life. So I think where I'm at right now though, I've got a couple more years left of me like wanting to push hard. And then once eventually we start to have kids and settle down and stuff, then I think I'll start to look more towards this, like just feeling strong, feeling healthy, feeling mobile, and eventually, get back to maybe down the road, like 20 years, trying to think of like building muscle again, like getting stronger. But who knows? You never know.
I think that in terms of thinking long term in people's health and fitness journey, it can be hard to do sometimes. And one thing that I learned from going from competing in bodybuilding to pregnancy to then having toddlers and trying to balance everything is your health and fitness journey is always going to ebb and flow. There are always going to be times where you can push and times where you have to pull back and times where you are just maintaining and focusing on what you can do and what you need to do. But even for me, there have been certain times over the last couple of years where I'm like, hey, I want to do this. And it's kind of my old way of thinking, you know, whether it be I want to get to like a lower body fat percentage, but my extremist thinking kind of comes in. And then I'm like, I'm in a completely different like position and situation than I was 4 or 5 years ago. So sometimes people will ask me, are you ever going to compete again? Or are you competing again? And I used to say no, 100% no, I'm never competing again. But now I'm able to think more long term and think right now, like over the next 5-10 years, no, I'm not going to compete. But that doesn't mean my whole life is over. I mean, in the next 5 to 10 years, I'd be in my late 30s, early 40s. You still have a lot of life to live. And if I wanted to set more specific, like extreme goals, say in the future, like it's totally feasible, but kind of having the understanding that there are going to be points in your life where you have to pull back a little bit and it's not a bad thing. And as long as you can maintain consistently looking after yourself and prioritizing your health and fitness, that's all that matters. Instead of going through these extremes of either being 100% on or doing absolutely nothing, because it's a lot harder for you to get it back when it comes to your health and fitness. if you're doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And over the last 4 years of having kids, there's never been a point where I've done absolutely nothing. But I can imagine, I can envision if there was, it would be very hard for me to get back into the swing of things. And that's why I always focus on consistency over perfection with my clients. Like, if you can't get your workouts in, go for a walk.
Yeah.
If you can't get a solid meal prep done, prioritize protein with every meal. If you can't track your macros, utilize the hand portion method. Like, there's always something that you can do. It's going to keep momentum going so that you don't have to pick yourself back up. You know?
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I think going back to like the original question, just setting yourself up in life as well. I feel like for me, this might be a little like deep, but like I felt like before meeting Logan, I wasn't really sure if I even wanted kids and like wanted a family. But I feel like now that I have found her and that I'm with her, I feel like I can't like wait to have kids now. So I think like if I were to give that advice to a guy in my situation, it's like find the right partner, because like once you have the right partner, they're going to support you in like whatever you want to do, whatever you want to accomplish. And like I think naturally you just want to like have more with this person, like start a family, have kids, and settle down, like kind of domesticate, honestly. Like you just like domesticate yourself.
You see the vision, though.
You see the vision, yeah, because you're like...
You drink the Kool-Aid.
You do. You drink the Kool-Aid because you're like, wow, this person is so amazing. Like, they support everything I do. I just want to like build a life together. And it's like, I feel like before Logan, I was just like, I didn't have that feeling or never like envisioned that. But now that I have her, I'm like, wow, I can't wait to like do all these things. So I think finding the right partner and finding someone who like supports you in everything you do is super important, because you can only do so much on your own. Like having support and having a partner like makes a world of a difference. Yeah.
I was the same. Like when before I met Chris, I never said I wanted to have kids.
Yeah.
I never said that I didn't want to. But if people would ask me, I'd kind of just be like, I've never put any thought into it, like at all. Whereas I know that some women, they grow up envisioning their family and wanting to have kids and having that like motherly instinct and desire. I never had that ever. Even with kids, like seeing little kids and babies, I would never hold the baby. I would never try to like interact with the toddler. I don't know why. I didn't have siblings growing up. I was an only child, so I wasn't around a lot of kids, so that might have had something to do with it. But then when you meet like your partner and you start to envision life with them, things kind of start to like click into place. Yeah. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Who's home?
Yeah, we can wrap it up. I think was that the last one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Hi, Ray.